Hello, this is a two-part screencast, how to get InDesign content into iBooks Author. So the first thing we're going to do is to make some modifications to our InDesign files. We're working again with A Midsummer Night's Dream, a book that we've previously worked on for both Reflurble EPUB, Fixed Layout EPUB and so on, and also print. And I've taken the trouble to make a duplicate of my two files, the introduction and the play itself. So in InDesign, I no longer need the book panel. I'm just going to work on the two individual items. Now, there are a few things that you should know about with iBooks Author. First of all, the process that we're going to use is to take the content from InDesign and create IDML files, and then we're going to import that into a template in iBooks Author. We'll come on to that later, but the point is, what do we actually do to our InDesign files to make them into appropriate IDML files? Well, the first thing is that when we import the content into iBooks Author, everything will come in, and we might need to make a few edits. We'll no doubt need to make a lot of edits, but the point is there are quite a few things that we don't need in the InDesign before we go through this process. And one of the things that we don't need are the items on the master pages. That is to say, we have a header and a footer, we have page numbers and so on. So what I'm going to do, rather than delete these, I'm going to put these onto a separate layer. So I'm going to copy all of these, or I should say I'm going to cut them out. I'm then going to make a new layer, go into that layer, and I'm then going to paste those in place so that they're now in a new layer, and I'm going to turn that layer off. So we haven't removed them, we've simply removed them into a new layer. Okay, now let's go on to our pages. Now the other thing is that there are quite a few things that we don't need for this. So we've got two parts to this, as you remember. We've got the introduction and we've got the play itself. The play is obviously a little bit more complicated because the play has acts and scenes, but the introduction is very simple in the sense that it is an introduction to Shakespeare's life in my case, and then we simply have subtitles underneath that. So what I don't need is I don't need things like the half title, frontispiece, title page. I'm going to be putting those back in separately when we work on the iBooks Author version. So what I'm going to do is to delete these. And finally, these two pages here. So all I've now got is my my basic text, an image, and even I've got my footnotes, which I shall keep in there. Okay, so that's for that. I don't even need to save this, because all I'm going to do now is to export this as IDML. So you'll see down here with the list of things that we can export, InDesign Markup IDML. And I'm going to actually create a new folder inside here called Extracted, and then I'm going to save that into there. So this is my, let's actually give it the name Introduction. And save it in there. Okay, now let's close that down, and we're actually not going to save it. Now the other part is a little bit more complicated, because this time the play, which I'm now opening up, now I need to bring all these things back onto the screen here. The play itself has a lot of pages. Of course, it's got the act and it's got the scenes inside it. Now, this is where it gets complicated. What we actually need to do is we need to split this down into the separate scenes in the play, because what we're going to do is to create an act in the iBooks Author program, and then we're going to import the scenes into that act. because we want to make sure that we get the structure correct. So the first thing I'm going to do is to delete the pages that we don't need, just like we've done just before. So let's actually just go into here and take all of these pages here. Delete those pages. And then what we're going to do is to start the numbering on page 1. You need to essentially simplify this whole thing. So we've started on page 1 with the Act 1, Scene 1, and we've moved on to, so all of these pages are in spreads, and let's just go right down to the bottom to make sure we haven't got any overset text. We have to now do the same as we've done before, create a new layer, move on to our master pages, select all of the content on master pages, cut this out, go into this layer here and paste in place. So that's now in that layer, and then we hide that layer, go back into this layer, and you'll see that we have no longer got the master page items without having deleted it. So now that I have my simplified version of the play, and I simply have the scenes inside the acts, all one flowing document. As you can see, I've got text threading switched on so that you can see that everything is threaded together. What I need to do now is to split this document, and you can see why I've simplified the page numbering, because what I need to do now is to go to the next scene, which is at page 15, select that text frame, and then now I need to use a script that I've modified and will make available to you, split before here, and we simply double click on this, and you'll see now what's happened is we no longer have this threaded, so it's split the document exactly at that point. Now, to make it simple for us, we want to find the next occurrence of the scene. So I'm going to use my find dialog box, go to the next location. Let's just move that slightly out of the way over here, and select that text frame, split before here, find again, and again, select this text frame, split before here, and we're going to do this each time. So we're nearly coming to the end now. Okay, so that's now completed that task. I'm going to now save this because this is now split. So let's just remove the Find Change dialog box. We don't need the scripts window for the moment. So you can now see that we've got individual scenes. But what we need to be aware of now are the pages, so that's why we can look very carefully down at the bottom here. Now I've enlarged my thumbnail views of the pages to the jumbo size so that it makes it a little bit easier to see. But what we now need to do is to use another script to extract the pages to individual InDesign documents and IDML documents. The IDML documents are the ones that we need to import into iBooks Author. We have a script which will do all of this automatically for us, but we need to know the page numbers that we're extracting. So the first thing is then, let's go to the script that we're looking for, and it's extract pages and IDML, and then we need to tell it which pages that we're looking for. So we're looking currently for Let's just move this out of the way. We're looking for 1 to 14. It's chosen. We need to choose a folder to put this in. I've got a folder already created called extracted. And we now get a message to say that we've successfully created an InDesign document 1 to 14 and an IDML document 1 to 14. Okay, now let's look at this again. Just need to bring this back onto the screen and look at our pages. Now we're going to go to this page here, which is 15. So now we need to go from 15 to 22. to 22. Okay, now I'm just going to do this one more time for the sake of the screencast, so that you can see how this actually works. Let's look at our pages again. Now we've gone from 15 to 22, and now we want to go from 23 to 36. 23 to 36. 23 to 36. Now we need to do this for every scene in the play, but I'm going to leave that there for the moment and show you now what we do with this information that we've gathered from InDesign and how we're going to work with iBooks Author.